and you're just going along in life, surviving, doing your thing, and sometimes you're not aware of it. And a lot of the times leaders aren't taught to challenge other leaders on it. Business owners are too busy running their business to be able to have that time. And I think this is why it's so important when you have an opportunity to have a conversation with not a friend, because the friends generally won't give you that difficult conversation. They don't want to upset you, but having that conversation with someone who is trained in process, who can look at it from an objective point of view, and challenge what your thoughts and processes. It's so often it brings that projection, which is unaware, out of their awareness, to their awareness. All of a sudden, it's a bit of a realization. Oh my gosh, how the hell have I been doing that? No, how could I find this out? And so often it takes place in a completely different context. We were talking to a leader who was very emotionally buoyed, would go through the process, do things for the outcome to the point where they were very, very successful and high achiever, but wouldn't turn up to the reward of that achievement because that wasn't about getting the reward, it was about getting that milestone. So zero emotional investment in it. And once it was brought to their awareness that was missing, and they learned how to dial into their emotion, that leader changed a lot, and their empathy and ability to be a leader and looking at other people's emotions and their behaviors was a big difference. So what happened in that scenario is his projection changed of being someone who was like a taskmaster and just go through and do the task, to dialing in and getting the emotional drive. Now, if all of our team were superly motivated by doing tasks, that would be great. But we're not. We're humans. We need to have more than just the task and the to-do list tick box to motivate us. Subsequently, it's changed the way he projects himself and his team and what he sees, and subsequently improving a team and going through some, emotional challenges in the workplace is now a little bit different for him in that regard. So it's interesting how that takes place. So again, bring it to his awareness. And if it wasn't for the fact that he had that opportunity, he probably wouldn't have had that realization. We're probably trying to get to his next stage in his life using the same behavior and habits which got to him where got him to where he was, but certainly weren't going to get him to where he needs to be.
100%. And I think you bring up a really important concept there, which is habits. The habits are the small actions done repeatedly, which actually really transform. And I think I once heard a quote from someone saying that your sum total of your life is your habits compounded. And I think that we definitely can look at that and say, well, if I have habits that I'm not proud of, or if I know habits that contribute to, perhaps not being as healthy as I would like to be, or being as successful as I would like to be, or being as organized or productive, or insert word here of whatever your desire is, right? If I have some of those habits that don't contribute to that and I do them often enough, then that's going to compound to give me a result that's pretty rubbish. Whereas if I do small things that are really productive and toward the things that I really want to create, then over time that will also compound and create a great outcome. And I think that this is one of the reasons why we created our habit transformation challenge. And it's the small things done consistently that have been identified. I think people can sometimes, if they're action driven, they can sometimes be busy being busy without actually noticing whether or not the small things that they're doing are contributing to their ultimate dream, as you talked about earlier, Brad. But then, of course, it's about making sure that we do those things consistently enough. And there was a Harvard study that said that it would take 66 days of consistent activity to actually form a habit. And I know that was pretty transformational for you, Alex, when you first learnt about that. Did you want to tell people like what your experience of learning about that and then sharing that with some of the clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's so many things that encompass what it is that we're talking about right now in terms of, creating habits. And once again, it's the 66 days of consecutively keeping up with healthy habits. And then by day 67, it's innate within us. So, it's just something that we do. And that was really, really prevalent in terms of, getting people to jump on board with, managing their time effectively and being able to, utilize the default calendar. That within itself is habit forming. It's going in, it's being, stringent and keeping those boundaries solid around every day, prioritizing what it is that's really, really important. One of the other things that you just mentioned before, and it's really interesting in terms of creating and forming habits, is one of the things that comes up a lot of the time in my coaching sessions, and I think you'll all agree on this, and a lot of people out there will be going, yes, 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 is a lot of people, and you've mentioned it a few times, about capability and understanding other people's capability and in terms of what people are capable of, and there's the whole, if I'm questioning myself, am I questioning others, and there's the inside versus the outside reality. But this is where we find a lot of people in creating habits. One of the biggest habits that we find is people not handing over or delegating things that other people are actually more than capable of. And there's the other side of it as well. There's no opportunity for them to become capable if they don't actually have the experience of. But as we know, there's an art in being able to delegate and delegate well, being able to delegate in a way that other people are able to understand, because as we know, we all communicate very differently and we receive and process information very, very unique to ourselves. So it's being able to understand that we're able to communicate effectively with people, to transfer, to delegate. Shande, you talked about before, about creating small, basically we know trust is built over small agreements being kept over a period of time. So it's being able to delegate, it's being able to see and build the trust in the team. And the other thing as well is the buy-in right there, because when people feel like they're included, that they're trusted within their leadership team, this is when they're more likely to actually embrace whatever the project, the goal, the outcome is. There's their buy-in, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, I'm trusted, they've trusted me with this, I'm involved. So all of a sudden, rather than them sitting on the outside, they feel like it's a little bit more inclusive. The other thing as well is it relieves a lot of the work for the person that's leading the team. I know all of the time we talk to leaders that are talking about going on holidays, and they become really stressed out about the fact that they know what they're walking back into. But at the end of the day, it's the finger out and the finger coming back in, right? It's if you're delegating effectively, if you're getting people on top of their time, if you're enforcing boundaries around time, and once again creating that habit, that 66-day habit of being able to do these things, the reward is just so much greater.